Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt that something wasn't matching their words? That gut feeling, the one you try to silence because you want to believe them, is your inner truth whispering to you. We don't like to admit it, but lies are part of relationships. And sometimes the person you love most can be the one deceiving you. Lies are never silent. They leave traces, cracks, and shadows. You can hear it in her tone, see it in her body, feel it in her presence. When she avoids your gaze, it's not shyness, it's the weight of truth pressing against her conscience. When she tells a story twice, and the details shift like sand, that's not memory, it's invention. Notice the way she reacts when you question her. A woman who has nothing to hide will answer with calm. But when lies wrap her tongue, she will grow defensive, quick to turn the blame onto you. Suddenly, you're the problem. She points fingers, hoping you forget what you asked in the first place. There's another sign: the distance. Love makes people lean closer, lies push them away. If she's lying, her emotions won't align with her words. She says she loves you, but her actions are hollow. You'll feel her pulling back, creating gaps that weren't there before. And then there's over-explaining. Have you ever asked a simple question and received a 20-minute answer filled with details you never requested? That's not clarity, that's camouflage. Truth doesn't need decoration, lies do. Pay attention to accountability. A woman who lies often avoids owning her mistakes. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry," she'll rewrite the story to make herself the victim. But real love doesn't need rewriting. It embraces truth even when it's messy. Books like The Four Agreements remind us that honesty is the foundation of freedom. Without it, love becomes a prison built on illusions. You cannot feel safe in the arms of someone whose words you cannot trust. The greatest tragedy is not that she lied, it's that you ignored the signs because you wanted her love to be enough. But here's the truth. Love without honesty is not love, it's performance. And you deserve more than a performance. Listen carefully, not to her words, but to the silences between them. Observe not just what she says, but what she avoids. Truth is always there, waiting for you to be brave enough to see it. Because the moment you stop ignoring the signs is the moment you reclaim your power. Lies cannot survive in the presence of a person who values themselves enough to walk away. And maybe, just maybe, her lies aren't the end of your story, they're the beginning of your freedom. Lies leave patterns that cannot be hidden forever, no matter how carefully someone tries to cover them up. In the beginning, the lie may sound convincing. It may even feel easier to accept it than to question it, because questioning shakes the comfort of what you want to believe. But lies are like cracks in glass. At first, they're small, almost invisible. Yet over time they spread until the entire surface shatters. A person can rehearse their words, but they cannot rehearse their soul. Sooner or later, their behavior, their inconsistencies, and their slip-ups will reveal what their mouth tries so desperately to conceal. Think about it, the truth is consistent. It doesn't need rehearsing. It doesn't change from one retelling to another. But lies require energy to maintain, and energy eventually runs out. That is why layers often trip over their own stories. They forget the details they invented, or they add too much to make it sound believable. The longer a lie is lived, the heavier it becomes, until even the liar struggles to carry it. When you pay attention, you begin to notice the little things. She laughs at the wrong moment. She avoids questions with vague answers, or she speaks too quickly as if rushing past the truth. These patterns are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of dishonesty. And while she may believe she is protecting herself, protecting you, or protecting the relationship, the reality is that every lie builds a wall between you. Those walls don't disappear on their own. They grow taller, they grow stronger, until one day you realize you can no longer see the person you once loved through them. The hardest part is not spotting the lie. It's admitting to yourself that you see it, because once you admit it, you can no longer live in denial. But understanding these patterns gives you clarity, and clarity is the beginning of freedom. Body language often tells the truth before words do, and it's one of the hardest things to fake consistently. A smile might appear on her face, but if it doesn't reach her eyes, you'll feel the emptiness behind it. When she says everything is fine, yet her shoulders tense or her arms cross tightly over her chest, her body is revealing the discomfort her mouth tries to hide. We communicate far more with our gestures, our tone, our eyes than we ever do with sentences. A person who is lying has to focus on controlling their words, but in doing so, they often lose control of the subtler signals. That's why you might notice her looking away too quickly when you ask a direct question, or forcing eye contact in a way that feels unnatural, as if she's trying too hard to convince you. There's also the restless movement, the tapping fingers, the shifting feet, the nervous laugh at the wrong moment. None of these things by themselves prove dishonesty, but together they form a language of unease. Her body resists her words because deep down, truth always pushes against the boundaries of a lie. If you trust your instincts, you'll feel it. Humans are wired to sense misalignment. That's why something feels off, even if you can't explain it. The body speaks in ways the tongue cannot mask, and once you learn to listen, you'll realize that silence and movement can be louder than any confession. Inconsistencies in her story reveal cracks in trust, and those cracks are impossible to hide forever. The truth is steady. It remains the same no matter how many times it's told. But when someone is lying, the details begin to shift. One day she says she was at a friend's house. The next day she mentions being out shopping at the same time. Small contradictions like these may seem harmless at first, but they are signs of a bigger pattern. Lies require constant maintenance, and most people are not skilled enough to remember every detail of their fabrication. That's why the story changes, sometimes just a little, sometimes completely. When you catch these differences, you might feel tempted to dismiss them, to tell yourself you misheard or misunderstood. But deep down, you know the truth doesn't change, and your mind remembers what your heart tries to deny. Think about it. When someone is honest, they don't have to think twice before answering. Their words flow naturally, their memories align, and their story holds together because it's real. But when someone lies, there's hesitation, overthinking, and nervous correction. You'll hear the cracks when she backtracks, when she suddenly adjusts her version of events, when she says, "Oh, I must have told you wrong." Trust is fragile, and every inconsistency chips away at it. The danger isn't just in the lie itself, it's in the confusion it creates. You begin doubting your own memory, questioning whether you're overanalyzing. But remember this, if her story keeps changing, it's not your memory that's the problem. It's her honesty. Defensiveness is often a shield for guilt, and it shows itself the moment you begin asking questions that touch too close to the truth. Instead of calm answers, you're met with irritation, sudden anger, or even accusations turned back on you. A simple, "Where were you?" becomes twisted into, "Why don't you trust me?" or "Why are you always trying to control me?" The spotlight that should be on her words suddenly shifts onto your doubts, making you feel guilty for even asking. But here's the reality: when someone has nothing to hide, they don't need to protect themselves with hostility. They answer with clarity, and their energy feels open, not defensive. Defensiveness is the armor of dishonesty. It builds walls where there should be bridges. The more she pushes back at your curiosity, the more you should wonder what she's protecting behind that shield. It's not always loud or explosive either. Sometimes defensiveness comes as silence, avoidance, or a sudden change in mood. She may shut down, refuse to engage, or create distance, so you stop asking questions. But silence can be just as loud as shouting when it comes to truth. Books on human behavior, like Spotting by Pamela Meyer, remind us that defensiveness is rarely about the question itself. It's about the discomfort of being exposed. When honesty exists, there's no need for attack or retreat. But when lies are present, the fight or flight response appears, because deep down she knows her story won't hold if you press too hard. The key is to notice these patterns. Does every simple question turn into an argument? Does every concern you raise end with you apologizing instead of getting answers? If so, it's not because you're wrong for asking. It's because she's afraid of what might happen if she truly answers. Emotional disconnection speaks louder than excuses, and it often reveals itself before words ever do. Love is felt in the little things, in the way she looks at you, the warmth in her voice, the natural closeness that doesn't need to be forced. When she starts lying, those small signals begin to fade. You notice her touch is less frequent, her laughter feels hollow, her attention drifts even when you're right in front of her. It's not just physical distance, it's the absence of genuine presence. She may still say, "I love you," but the words don't carry the same energy. They sound rehearsed, almost like an obligation rather than a truth. You feel her slipping away not through what she admits, but through what she withholds. The lack of enthusiasm, the absence of effort, the quiet withdrawal from shared dreams and conversations that once flowed easily. Excuses often cover this gap. She might say she's just tired, busy, or stressed. And while life can certainly bring those moments, a consistent emotional disconnect signals something deeper. Because when someone truly loves you, even in stress, you feel their heart reaching for yours. The bond doesn't vanish, it adapts. But when lies exist, the heart hides, and no excuse can mask the emptiness you feel in your gut. This is why emotional distance is so painful. It's not just about missing her affection. It's about realizing she's present in body but absent in spirit. And the more you ignore it, the more you begin to accept a version of love that's one-sided, fragile, and dishonest. Real love shows itself in connection, in effort, in presence. When that disappears, it's not the excuses you should listen to, it's the silence of her heart. Avoidance of eye contact is rarely accidental, and it often says more than any carefully chosen words. The eyes are windows to the soul, and when someone fears being exposed, they instinctively look away. It's not just shyness or distraction, it's the weight of carrying something they don't want you to see. When you ask her a direct question and her gaze shifts to the floor, the ceiling, or suddenly to her phone, it's her subconscious betraying her truth. Sometimes the avoidance is subtle. She might glance at you for a moment, but quickly break the connection, as if holding eye contact feels too heavy. Other times, it's exaggerated. She forces eye contact almost too intensely, trying to convince you of honesty by overcompensating. Both extremes are red flags because natural eye contact is steady, relaxed, and unforced. Think about when someone shares something real with you, their eyes hold yours, not because they're trying to prove anything, but because the truth carries no fear. But lies create discomfort. They stir anxiety inside the body, and the eyes, being so connected to emotion, reveal that tension instantly. You may hear her words telling you one story, but her eyes will often tell you another. And the hardest part isn't noticing it. It's admitting that the person you love may not be able to meet your gaze because they know their words are betraying your trust. Lies are heavy, and the eyes refuse to carry that weight for long. Over-explaining is often a sign of fabrication, and it shows up when simple questions suddenly receive complicated, unnecessary answers. Ask her where she was, and instead of a straightforward response, she gives you a detailed timeline, who she was with, what they ate, how long it took. Every little thing, except it doesn't feel natural. It feels rehearsed, like a story built to convince rather than a truth shared with ease. The truth doesn't need padding. It stands on its own, strong and clear. But lies feel fragile, so the liar decorates them with extra details, hoping you'll get lost in the noise and stop listening closely. That's why liars often talk more than necessary, because silence feels dangerous to them, and too much space might invite more questions. Sometimes you'll notice she repeats herself, circling back to the same point as if saying it twice makes it more believable. Other times, she drowns the lie in emotion, speaking with exaggerated emphasis, trying to make you feel guilty for even doubting her. But what she doesn't realize is that the more layers she adds, the more suspicious the story becomes. If you think about the times you've told the truth, you'll remember how simple it was, clear, direct, and without hesitation. Lies are the opposite. They are fragile structures that need constant reinforcement. Over-explaining is that reinforcement, a desperate attempt to make a shaky foundation look strong. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. The cracks are always in the places where the story feels too polished, too rehearsed, too much. A lack of accountability exposes dishonesty, because truth and responsibility always walk hand in hand. When someone is honest, even if they've made a mistake, they can own it. They may feel shame, they may feel regret, but they won't twist the story to escape blame. A liar, on the other hand, bends reality to protect themselves. Instead of saying, "I was wrong," she might say, "You don't understand," or "It wasn't my fault," or worse, "You're imagining things." This shift is subtle at first. You bring up something that doesn't add up, and rather than addressing it directly, she diverts, blames, or plays the victim. Suddenly, she's the one hurt by your questioning, and you're left defending yourself instead of getting the answers you sought. Over time, this pattern makes you doubt your own perception, and that's exactly how dishonesty takes root. It thrives when you stop trusting yourself. Accountability means transparency, and without it, trust can't exist. Relationships are not about perfection, they're about honesty. If she cannot admit when she's wrong, if she cannot stand in the discomfort of her own mistakes, then she is hiding behind excuses instead of facing the truth. And the more she avoids responsibility, the more you'll feel the weight of carrying the relationship alone. Books like The Road Less Traveled remind us that growth begins with discipline and truth. A person unwilling to accept accountability cannot grow, and without growth, love begins to suffocate. When excuses replace ownership, the connection becomes fragile because real intimacy demands vulnerability. And there is nothing more vulnerable than looking someone in the eyes and saying, "Yes, I did this. I'm sorry." A true love thrives in honesty. Without it, love cannot survive. You can build a relationship on passion, attraction, even shared dreams, but if honesty isn't the foundation, everything eventually collapses. Lies are termites in the walls of love. Silent at first, almost invisible, yet eating away at the structure until it falls apart. A dishonest love may look whole from the outside, but inside it's hollow, fragile, and temporary. When she lies, she isn't just hiding the truth, she's stealing your sense of safety. Love is supposed to be the place where you rest, where you feel seen and secure. But when dishonesty enters, rest turns into restlessness. You start questioning everything, her words, her actions, even your own instincts. And the moment you stop feeling safe in love, the relationship begins to die, no matter how tightly you try to hold it together. Honesty, even when it's uncomfortable, deepens connection. It says, "I trust you with my truth," even if it's messy. That trust creates intimacy because real love is not about perfection, it's about vulnerability. Without it, what you share isn't love, it's performance. A stage where you play the role of a partner while hiding what's real. And here's the truth you must remember: a lie may protect someone's image, but it destroys the bond between two souls. If she cannot be honest with you, she cannot truly love you. Love demands courage, and the greatest act of courage in a relationship is choosing transparency over deception. So, when the signs of dishonesty become too loud to ignore, you face a choice. You can accept a version of love built on illusion, or you can step into the painful but powerful freedom of truth. Because real love will never ask you to live in lies, it will ask you to grow in honesty. And if honesty is absent, no matter how much affection remains, what you're holding on to is not love, it's just the shadow of what love could have been. Listen carefully, not just to her words, but to the silences between them. Lies often live in what isn't said. The pauses, the hesitation, the quick subject changes, these are not accidents, they are choices. A person who is lying fears the space between words because silence is where truth tries to escape. That's why she may rush to fill every gap with chatter, or she may avoid certain topics altogether, creating blank spaces where answers should live. The truth has nothing to fear from silence. When someone is genuine, their stillness feels steady, calm, natural. But when dishonesty is present, silence feels heavy, charged, almost unbearable. That's when you'll notice her shifting in her seat, glancing away, or quickly changing the subject to distract you. The silence betrays her because it exposes the weight of what she's hiding. What's important is not only what she tells you, but what she avoids telling you. If there are whole parts of her life that remain untouchable, if questions always get brushed aside, if her openness suddenly turns into secrecy, then you're not receiving her truth. You're receiving only the parts she's comfortable giving. And love cannot thrive in fragments. The final sign is this: her truth is in the spaces she refuses to enter with you. Because in real love, there are no locked doors, no forbidden topics, no silences that swallow your questions. If those silences are there, you're not imagining them. They're telling you everything you need to know. And perhaps the hardest lesson of all is this: you don't always need her confession to know she's lying. Sometimes the silence is the confession.